More proving of identities. This time it's starring our reciprocal trig ratios. So let's not forget what our trig ratios are, our reciprocal ones. So those were our cosecant. Remember, cosecant is 1 over sine. We have secant, which is 1 over cos. And we have cotangent, which is 1 over tan. Okay, so let's do a few proofs with those. All right, let's prove that cosecant angle equals secant angle cotangent angle. So again, we're following our steps here. We have to do left side on over here, so that's our cosecant theta. And then our right side, let's start it over here, and we've got our secant theta, cotangent theta. So the same kind of rules apply, tips apply as what I said before. We want to put everything in terms of sine and cos. Okay, so we know that cosecant is 1 over sine, so let's do that. And that's about as far as we can go there. Looking at our right side, secant is 1 over cos. Cotangent is 1 over tan. So times 1 over tan. All right, so our left side we said we're done. Right side, we've still got some more action we can do over here, because remember tan, we've already proven, is sine over cos. So let's put that in here. So 1 over cos angle is 1 over sine over cos. Well, a fraction in the denominator, so let's deal with that. So that really means that we're doing 1 divided by sine over cos. And remember, when we're dividing by a fraction, that means we have to multiply by the reciprocal. So flip it over. And now that I've got that, well, I don't really need that 1 in the middle. What do we see? Oh, well, I've got a cos in the numerator and a cos in the denominator, so let's cancel those out. And abracadabra, what do we got? 1 over sine angle. Right side, left side. Since left side equals right side, therefore, what was my whole fraction? Let's check that again. Cosecant angle equals secant angle times cotangent angle. QED. Fabulous work. All right, let's try example 2. This time I want to prove that tan squared theta plus 1 equals secant squared theta. All right, let's see. Left side is tan squared theta plus 1. Right side is secant squared theta. So I'm going to deal with right side first because it's nice and straightforward. So secant, remember, is the same thing as 1 over cos. And since that's squared, cos will be squared. Okay, so I've converted it into cos. So that's probably as far as I can go with the right side. So let's look at the left side here. So tan, remember, is sine over cos. And since it's tan was squared, sine and cos are both squared. So we've got that over 1. So I subbed in that tan is sine over cos. Okay. Now I need a common denominator, so I'll have sine squared theta over cos squared theta plus cos squared over cos squared. So I got a common denominator. Now let's add up our numerators. Sine squared theta plus cos squared theta all over our common denominator. And remember, we can use the Pythagorean identity where sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. So that now gives me 1 over cos squared theta. Hey, look at that. Left side equals right side. Since left side equals right side, therefore tan squared angle plus 1 equals secant squared theta. QED. Lovely. All right, let's do one last one. Here I'm going to do 1 over secant theta plus sine theta over cotangent theta equals 1 over cos theta. All right, follow our steps. left side is 1 over secant theta plus sine theta over cotangent theta. And our right side is 1 over cos theta. All right. Can't really do a whole lot with the right side, so that means we're really going to focus on our left side. So let's see, what do we know? I know that secant is 1 over cos, so I'm going to sub that in. And I know that cotangent is 1 over tan. So I'm always going to want to turn our reciprocal trigs into our usual looking trigs, into our primary ones. So let's do that. So let's see. Equals, well, 1 over secant is 1 over cos. That looks silly, but that's okay. Plus sine over cotangent is 1 over tan. Well, 1 over something, well, that just gives me back itself, right? Plus, that'll become sine divided by 1 over tan. So that means, maybe I should have done that over here so I could have shown you. I'll show you. I won't skip steps. I'll show you. That was really 1 divided by 1 over cos. So let's see, that becomes 1 times reciprocal, cos over 1, plus sine times tan over 1. So it just flips it. Gives me cos plus sine, oops, lost my angle here, times tan. Well, let's put in the fact that tan is really sine over cos. And if you had wanted, you could have done that up here. Whatever, it all works. Gives me cos plus sine times sine over cos. Oh boy, there's a lot going on in here, isn't there? Let's see. We've still got our cos plus, now I've got sine squared over cos. Well, now I need a common denominator. Oh my goodness. Let's see, common denominator. So let's pop that in there. So that means if this is going to be common denominator, I need that to be cos. And this has to get times by cos. So that'll leave me with cos squared theta over cos theta plus sine squared theta over cos theta. Oh, look! You see what's happening? I'm now going to have a cos squared plus sine squared all in the numerator, all over cos angle. And remember, Pythagorean identity is sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. So my numerator just becomes 1. Boy, that's a lot of work to get a 1. That's okay. So I now have 1 over, oops, that looks silly. So let's see, did I get it? 1 over cos angle, 1 over cos angle, yes! Oops. Since left side equals right side, therefore 1 over secant angle plus sine angle over cotangent angle equals 1 over cos angle. Ta-da! Magic! Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do that same example and I'm going to show you something else. Hang on. So when I was saying that there's more than one way to do this, there's always more than one way. Well, not always, but there's a lot of ways. Lots of times you can do things in more than one way. So let's just set this back up. Left side and right side. And let's keep looking at our left side here. So we said that secant is the same thing as 1 over cos. Well, that means that 1 over secant, right, flip your fraction, equals cos. So I could have said 1 over secant is cos. So I could have popped that in there. And then let's look at the sine over cotangent. So right now, that I can split up into sine times 1 over cotangent. So I'm just going to break the fraction and just kind of slide this over to the other side, just to emphasize that I now have 1 over cotangent angle. Okay. And the whole reason I'm doing that is because let's remember that cotangent is 1 over tan. So if I flip these fractions, that would mean that 1 over cotangent theta equals tan theta. So I can pop that into here. So this whole thing, oh boy, I'm a mess now. Cos theta plus, that would give me sine times tan. And then now when I go to pop in that tan is sine over cos, okay, so I had to sub that in. Well, it's just that we've skipped a whole bunch of those steps that I had originally done. Oops, that's a plus. So now I'm back. Now I'm at the sine squared over cos angle. Now I've got my common denominator here. So I've now got cos squared plus sine squared all over cos. And now I've got my 1 over cos. Because I used sine squared plus cos squared equals 1. So there's more than one way to do these. Okay, and that's okay. Oops, wrong one again. There we go. Now we can see the whole thing. Now we can see that, yes, we made it. Left side equals right side. Therefore, 1 over secant plus sine over cotangent equals 1 over cos. Okay. I just did a shorter way. And that's okay. Sometimes you have no idea where you're getting. And that's okay.